Here's the key stat that I think shows the golfing class between the Broncos spine and the Bulldogs spine. The Bulldogs' performance was pathetic. There's no other way to describe it. That's now 4 out of 5 losses, and it's the second time we've lost back-to-back games. And to make it even better, this is the same amount of losses that the Bulldogs had as of round 18 last year. We've managed to amount the same amount of losses as of round 8. Well done to all parties involved. But in all seriousness, this was just not good enough. The Bulldogs came against an injury-ravaged Brisbane Broncos side after versing what was nearly a reserve-grade Parramatta side where I can't name more than 2 players, and we're going to get into the why. But it's not just about the on-field. There is a larger narrative that's been painted behind the Bulldogs that has started as early as last year, and I'm going to take you through all of it, and I'm going to propose how we can potentially fix it. Alright, so let's start by talking about this really shit game. The Brisbane Broncos 32, the Bulldogs 12. The game was ultimately decided for me in the first 10 minutes. I've seen the commentary already, people saying the Bulldogs forwards got bashed. I don't agree. The Bulldogs in the opening 10 minutes had 66% possession, they had 15 tackles down the Broncos' opposition 20. Teams would die for possession like that, and credit, the team were actually building repeat sets and a little bit of pressure. But where they failed was to penetrate the Brisbane Broncos. We couldn't penetrate Bonnie Blue, let alone a defensive line in the NRL. The Bulldogs failed. Really poor structures from left to right. Full credit to the Broncos, they managed to defend the little questions that we asked of them. Then you go down the other end, Broncos finally get some reprieve, they get the ball, and then Marcelo Montoya air swings in a National Rugby League game, air swings the ball, and the Broncos get handed a charity case of a try. And the game was ultimately decided then and there. Then it just gets compounded. Harry Hayes' sin binning, tripping over Adam Reynolds, was pure idiocy. Harry Hayes has been one of the Bulldogs' best players, but that was comfortably his worst game in a Bulldog shirt. Didn't even reach 60 metres. The right-hand edge with Stephen Crichton and Marcelo Montoya getting torn time and time again. Ezra Mann's cut-out pass for Kapani to score against Marcelo Montoya. What was he doing? I've seen the commentary just blaming Marcelo there. I think that's a little bit lazy. Stephen Crichton was all the way in. Marcelo has to follow his man. That's the right thing to do. But the Bulldogs' defense on that right-hand side was just not good enough. Marcelo needs to communicate. He needs to get the players out if he can see they're short, because he just left himself exposed. And we saw that trend continue into the second half. They just continuously tore that right side apart. And then when they were done with the right, they started going towards the left. Some of the tries that the Bulldogs conceded yesterday, they were effortless. They were just a lack of desire. But you know what? I can't blame the players anymore. So Marcelo Montoya has a disaster class. And this follows his disaster class against the Parramatta Eels, where he conceded a penalty, got a fend in the face to concede a try, drop balls. Then you go against the South Sydney Rabbitohs, drop balls in his own ends. How many times does someone need to not perform to be dropped, Cameron? You dropped Bronson Cherry for less. Seriously, Marcelo Montoya cannot be in first grade next week. If Marcelo Montoya is in first grade next week, I'm protesting outside Burwood Road. Seriously, it's not about him, and I don't want to single him out, but it's just about the coach setting standards. You can't let players perform to that level and get chosen week in and week out. He needs to be dropped. A statement needs to be made to these players. Otherwise, you're telling that group of players that no matter how shit or good you play, it does not matter. If I like you, you're playing. Can't be that way. Let's talk about the spine. The Bulldogs are dysfunctional. Here's the key stat that I think shows the golfing class between the Broncos spine and the Bulldogs spine. Kicking meters. The Bulldogs had 385 kick meters. You know what the Broncos had? 822. Adam Reynolds was toying with the Bulldogs at times. Connor Tracy didn't know what to do with himself. And in a moment, I'm going to talk about the coaching, but I just need to be a little bit critical of the spine. When the ball goes to the right-hand side for the Bulldogs, it's extremely squished. They look claustrophobic out there. And it's ultimately breaking down between Jaden Salmon, Lachlan Galvin, and Connor Tracy. By the time Connor Tracy gets the ball on a sweep play, Crichton and Montoya have absolutely no space to work in. This to me is a structural issue with the Bulldogs' attack. It also is a personnel issue. Connor Tracy is not a natural ball player. So you've got two natural ball runners who you're asking to make the correct pass selection. I just don't think that that's their natural game, Cameron. Lachlan Galvin has become the dominant kicker between him and Matt Burton. Why? Lachlan Galvin does not have leg power. His strength is not his kicking game. His bombs barely go above my head, and I'm 5'7". Matt Burton's got the best bomb in the game, to the point where NFL scouts were looking at him. So what do? Don't kick. Don't kick, Matt. We'll let Lachlan do it. Why? And I feel sorry for Lachlan Galvin, because ultimately I feel like he's been set up to fail. He's been told to play number 7, and he's just clearly not a number 7. And this is where I get into the broader conversation. Let's talk about the bench. Cameron Ciraldo ultimately went with a bench of Harry Hayes and Satili Tupanua, another player who can't stop dropping the ball at the moment. Another game where the Bulldogs concede 14 errors. The Bulldogs' attack is as fertile as Caitlin Jenner. So this is where the Bulldogs are losing games. They're losing psychologically. It's not a physical thing. They're losing the game because the forwards are getting forward and the spine are incapable of setting the team up to score points. When you don't score points, you become deflated. You put more pressure on your defense. Last year, the Bulldogs scored points and had good defense. This year, they can't score points and now they have shit defense. Guess where that leads you? Into losses. The Bulldogs, as of round 19 last year, up until the point where Toby Sexton and Reid Marnie were still in the spine, Bulldogs were averaging 22.8 points a game. So far this season, the Bulldogs are averaging 16.7 points. And don't forget, that's buffered up a lot by the fact that we scored 32 against the Panthers, the only time we've scored 30 points this season. Defensively, at the same point last year, the Bulldogs were conceding an average of 14.3 points. Now, 21.4. The defense is not what it used to be. It's predominantly the same group of players. So that tells me it's a psychological issue. This team don't have the confidence that they're going to score points, that they then can defend their way out of games and back their attack, because they don't trust that the attack is going to thrive anymore. Lachlan Galvin, a better player than Toby Sexton in terms of talent? Yes. Is Bailey Hayward a better hooker than Reid Marnie? No, he's not. Bailey Hayward's a very classy player who absolutely has a place in this team, but he's not a better number 9. And I come back to Bulldogs recruitment. Top 4, I can confidently say, is gone. And if we continue to see the Bulldogs perform the way that they have for the majority of the season now, in their more losses than wins, then the Bulldogs are going to struggle to make the top 8. It's time to talk about the off-field. I'm going to start with the coach, and then I'm going to go even further back. Cameron Ciraldo has been making unbelievably questionable decisions so far, not just this season, but last year. This Bulldog decline started in round 18 last year. This is where you have to question Cameron Ciraldo's decisions as a head coach. It's not just about this season. It also goes as far back as last season. Let me explain. Last year, when Lachlan Galvin was bought, the Bulldogs were sitting top of the table. Then we saw a decline in performances. Lachlan Galvin gets put into the team, and as we sit here today, the Bulldogs have lost more games with Lachlan Galvin and Bailey Hayward as the 7 and the 9 than they've won. To the point where Cameron Ciraldo, in the Bulldogs' biggest game of the season last year against the Penrith Panthers, elimination final, conceded under pressure and put Toby Sexton in the 7 and put Lachlan Galvin in the 6. Oddly enough, Lachlan Galvin was probably the Bulldogs' best player that day. But you can't deny the Bulldogs' season, cloud hanging over it when they were sitting top of the table, and it all started with the Lachlan Galvin signing. I'm not saying not to sign Lachlan Galvin if that was the Bulldogs' plan, but you can't dismiss that at the halfway point of the season, it disrupted the team. And this season has only proven that to be true. Then we come to this season. Stephen Crichton, arguably the best centre in the game, if you don't think he's the best, one of. Moved from the right, where he's dominated, over to the left. Bronson Xerri, who's such a dominant left player, moved over to the right. Then Bronson gets dropped for what I thought was a fine performance in round 1. Then there's the Sean O'Sullivan substitution when Crichton was injured and you had Bronson Xerri on the bench. Then there's the constant selection of Marcelo Montoya. Where does this coach start to take responsibility for his decisions? He comes in at press conferences and he questions the player's desire. Where's your desire, Cameron? Where's your decision making? Where's your ability to motivate and ensure that this team performs to its full potential? The hiring of Adam O'Brien as attacking coach. Jason Taylor clearly had this team performing better with a different group of players too. We've changed the players, we've changed the attacking coach, and we're worse. And the most baffling thing is we've spent more money to do it. Lachlan Galvin would be on more money than Toby Sexton was. We've downgraded our hooker. It's evident. Cameron Ciraldo's conceding as much. He just selected Jake Turpin, who I thought was actually quite good yesterday, but it just proves that Bailey Hayward's not a number 9. And in the case of Lachlan Galvin and Bailey Hayward, I cannot look at them as individuals and blame them for their performances. It's on the coach. He's not playing to the strengths of these players. If Lachlan Galvin was a 6 and had an organising number 7 next to him, Lachlan Galvin would thrive. If Bailey Hayward was allowed to be in a free role where he excelled last year, then Bailey Hayward would look terrific. The Bulldogs just got too creative for their own good. And this goes beyond Cameron Ciraldo. We have to look at the head of recruitment, Peter Sharp. We have to look at the general manager of football, Phil Gould, who's on over $1 million a year at the Bulldogs. It is his job to ensure that those below him perform. He himself needs to be held accountable. The Bulldogs' recruitment over the last 12 months has been beyond questionable. Connor Tracy's performances continue to decline every week. Alright, so what do we change heading into the North Queensland Cowboys game next week? Number 1 is they need to tweak the attack. It's not working. Jamin Salmon handles the ball far too much in the middle of the park. He's not Isaiah Yeo. He's not even a Timu Isaiah Yeo. The Bulldogs started to get some momentum and score points yesterday when they actually put the ball under their arm and started running. Far too many passes through the middle for the Bulldogs. Here are the changes I'd make. It's a little bit bold, but try and stay with me. Matt Burton and Galvin as the halves. Give Matt Burton the primary responsibility for the game kicking. The key change I'm making is actually at number 9 and number 13. I think Jake Turpin did well at number 9. I think he retains his position. Bailey Hayward needs to come into the 13 shirt. Jamin Salmon, you're out. He can go to the bench or reserve grade, whatever Cameron Ciraldo decides. But he cannot start in the 13. You need to take the ball playing away from Jamin Salmon. It is suffocating the edges. By the time they get the ball, there is just simply no room to move. I think Bailey Hayward in the 13, as a natural half, will have better pass selection, will provide a running game, and he will provide communication through the attack. He can provide a link between the left and the right-hand side. He can take pressure off Lachlan Galvin, who's still trying to figure out how to be a natural number 7. But before the end of this year, and I think this will ultimately depend on whether Matt Burton re-signs or not. If Matt Burton re-signs, we need to start moving Matt Burton into the 13, and we need to put Mitchell Woods into the number 7 shirt. It's time that Lachlan Galvin gets moved to the 6. I feel sorry for the kid. He's being told to play a role that is just not natural to him. I don't think he should be asked to organise a team, and the Bulldogs simply cannot afford for him to develop while they continue to lose games. He's not the reason the Bulldogs are losing, but his selection at number 7 is part of the symptom of the whole Bulldogs capitulation so far this year. There you have it. There's my review of the Bulldogs' performance against the Broncos, what I do to fix it. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know. Take care. We'll see you next week. Enjoy your rugby league and get out of here.